nice. This will be good in cash.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling good?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Cheers. First Father's Day in the books.
Sponsored by Special Drink.
Sponsored by Special Drink. Yeah, so Special Drink is just what we call our seltzer water.
Yeah.
Something that we used to not drink. And I actually used to hate. I used to think LaCroix was stupid. Not that this is LaCroix, but now that we do it, though, it's like the thing that I look forward to most in the week, outside of our Aldi cauliflower pizza.
Yeah. Shout out to Aldi. Get you a cauliflower pizza.
Yeah, and it doesn't even taste like cauliflower pizza. Although cauliflower pizza in general, I've had pretty solid experiences with so far.
That's the only one I've had.
I've a couple times when I've been out with Alex, like he'll get cauliflower pizza, and it's like usually pretty solid.
Yeah, Special Drink also came because I have been pregnant and couldn't drink, and then now breastfeeding and couldn't drink. So
that's true.
This is like a special thing other than boring water, because what fun is that?
Sure. And I guess my mom and my dad were both always had Diet 7-Up or 7-Up Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started getting into that. And then
Heavily.
like a problem. And so when I've gotten that, I'll just plow through like 6 or 7 in a day.
Like half of
I know, if you get 12, I'll have like 6 or so, and then I'll have the rest the next day. And so Special Drink is slightly below 7-Up Zero in terms of it's not as good, but I make it last longer, and it still gives you that party in your mouth.
Drink.
Yeah. What is?
7-Up Zero.
Is Special Drink?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have
You could make that argument.
And then you have water.
Yeah, I mean, water still hits good after a workout.
Remember I was like, oh, I'll get Special Drink from the store. And I get like that Waterloo thing, and I didn't see that it was
distilled
flavored water.
Yeah, it was like flavored distilled. It was just like flat. I mean, I still drank them, but
it's like if you set out a carbonated flavored water for like a day, that's what it tasted like.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just you drink it expecting the carbonation.
And there's just nothing. And it's just
like,
flat, and you're just sad.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like a pomegranate flavor, and so it's still pretty solid, but in terms of just slightly flavored water.
Yeah.
But the carbonation is really, like if you have one of these before or after it's been out for a while, and the carbonation's gone a little bit, and it's warmed up a bit, you're like, meh.
Yeah.
That's just kind of not that great. But when it's
like
cold and carbonated.
Yeah. I feel like there's like a time frame that once you open it, you have like, I don't know, 2 hours to drink it.
Mm-hmm.
Or else it's just, I'm not good at finishing them once that window is gone.
I will finish them.
Because you'll finish anything.
I'll finish anything.
You're like
yes.
a dog.
Yes, I am like a dog.
Oh, you're gonna finish it?
Yeah, I'll stare you down.
Yeah, I know.
And just like wait. I'll do it to anyone. I'll be like.
When you pulled out my apple from the car, we drove to up north, like Northeast Ohio, where I'm from, yesterday. And I was like, oh, can you grab the apple in my backpack? And I see out of the corner of my eye, and this happens like all the time, but I'll see out of the corner of my eye that you like hold it and you like look at it for a sec, and then give it to me. I'm like, did you want a bite?
Yeah, that time I was just checking to make sure it didn't have any squishies, any bad spots on it. But most of the time I am. contemplating whether or not I should ask
Do
for
it,
a
I
bite
catch you.
or if I can just have it in general.
Can I have it?
Can I have your
Can I
number?
have it?
What's that from? Oh,
It's
that's
like a skit.
that's a skit. Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what skit.
I remember though. They're in the movie theater,
Yeah. Like what?
like Mad TV or something like that.
Oh,
Probably.
yeah.
Did you ever see Derek Comedy on YouTube?
Derek?
Yeah,
No.
with
Yeah, I don't know.
it had Childish Gambino
No.
in it. Oh,
No.
that's
Was it
pretty
from
good.
like a long?
I mean, it was OG YouTube.
So like before he even put out any music, and like before Community. And all
It was
that.
before Community. I don't know if it was before music. He might have, because he was also doing stand up at the time. So
Oh.
I don't know if it was. I don't know. He's done it all. So I don't know. But yeah, there was one where he like shit his pants. He was like, "Yeah, my name is whatever, and I like to skateboard." And then he ends up shitting himself in classroom. I can't remember like the whole thing, but that was one. And then the other one that I feel like was super popular that you can't say anymore, where there was this kid who was in a spelling bee and Childish Gambino was one of the judges,
Mhm.
and the word was N-word, F-word, but the F-word was not fuck, it was
Like
the-
QU.
no, like, but it was the F-word for gay people, so it's N-word, F-word. Like hard R and then got at the end of the F word.
Yikes.
But that was the point. And so the kid, while he's like trying to spell it, is like, could you use it in a sentence? And the sentence is just like super crude. And then it was like origin of the word, and they did all the things. And then he's like, says it 'cause you have to in a spelling bee. Then he spells it and then says it again. And they're like, what the? It was just super funny back when you could do stuff like that for comedy. But
Sounds hilarious.
it was funny. I'm probably going to watch it after this podcast and show it to you because it's worth it. Apparently he's going to be making music again.
When was the last time he did?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, he did the This Is America, but I don't know if I don't think that was in an album or nothing. Yeah. But we'll see. And apparently he was also potentially going to be in you're not a big Star Wars person, but he played Lando Calrissian in the solo Star Wars movie, and apparently they're going to do like a Lando show or movie or Lando and Mando. Dogs.
Bow wow.
Was there anything you had on your mind, or do you just want to ride the wave? Because I can do anything as our
Ride
host.
the wave of whatever you want to do.
Okay.
I'm just here. I'm the filler.
No, you're not a filler, babe.
I told you I would be.
Well,
So if you needed one.
yeah, but I think the people are gonna want to hear from you because still the one I did with Lisa is the one that has been the most listened to, and I feel like people appreciate the whole family thing, and everyone loves you. So, not that everyone doesn't love the other guests that I've had, but I feel like if you know me, you know you, and everybody loves you. So, by extension, this should probably just be a banger.
Let's get to it.
Yeah, for sure. Yoga. Talk to me about it.
I do it.
Why?
It makes me feel good.
When did you realize it made you feel good?
2019.
Do you remember?
So that was a big time.
Do you remember the day and time?
It was a Thursday. It was 5:32 p.m.
Uh-huh.
It was a really crazy time for us. So 2019, like right before COVID, I think. So like my brain is still like, people are like, when did you start doing yoga?
So 2019 was the summer that you moved into Loyola with Sean and I. You
Okay.
moved in May of 2019 because you graduated
Okay.
May of 2019.
And then, when did I break up with you? It's that. It was like when I went to Uncle Mike's to house sit.
It was the year before. That would have been 2018. Uh-huh.
Not like the first time. Remember I did like a second time? So the first time I wasn't living with you yet. I was still in college. And I came to house
you're
sit,
right.
and I was
You're
like,
right.
why aren't
You're
you
right.
like putting in an effort to
Yeah,
come
yeah.
see me? You're like 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
And the second time, I was just going through some sort of crisis.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
started-
so I was at Mesh, so that would have been
2020.
2020. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was house sitting, and I ended up like sort of moving out. Or was like taking a couple weeks living at Uncle Mike's.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to run, and that's how I like. It really helped release emotion for me. And then, like, I would stretch, and it would just feel even better. And so I was like, let's just YouTube yoga. Like, I don't know why I didn't even do that. Like,
So pause.
before.
Had you done yoga before?
No.
Like never taken a class?
No, if you count like one class at the college rec center.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Once. With like Nora and Michaela.
Sure.
But yeah, like I just did stretching, played basketball for 12 years, and would just do like figure four, reach your toes, like
Sure, just basics.
basic stuff,
Basic meat and potato stretching.
and not even knowing what it means. Like I just know that it's good to stretch your muscles, but I don't know like how it links up with the rest of your body and like all that. So I started moving, doing yoga on YouTube.
End of summer, beginning of fall 2020.
Yeah. And I started noticing like, wow, I feel really good not only physically but mentally and emotionally. Like I feel like I'm just starting to gather the pieces. And like I like to tell my students, think of like you have a bowl of water with dirt in it, and it all is already settled at the bottom. And then you mix the bowl up, and all the dirt starts swirling around. That's like when you don't move your body, all of that like emotion and like tension or whatever you have is settled. You start moving and like flowing, and whatever feels good to you, all the dirt, all the emotion starts to swirl around and eventually releases.
Like passes
like your
on.
breath. Like one big breath out, and you just literally feel like more.
You can feel the release for sure.
Yeah. So that's, at least for me, it's a good.
Okay, so you had some sort of experience post-run stretching during that time, and then was that when you were like, I need to, and you had done some yoga on YouTube. Is that when you were like, okay, I need to experiment more with this, or how did that go?
Yeah, I just kept
doing it. Because I have no recollection.
I kept doing it every day out on their balcony.
Oh yeah, that was a cool balcony.
Especially before bed, because that's where like I started thinking about like not being with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? Like it hurt to not be with you, and that was my choice. But like it was like, this is wrong. Like there was still that little part in there, and so being able to do yoga right before bed helped settle my mind so I could sleep. Because every time you hit that pillow, it's like, I always talk about everything in my day, like right before we're about to go to sleep. And so yoga just really helps, just like the breathing, and to like take things down after your day, no matter what happens, what you've been thinking about, it just settles everything again. And then, like, I don't know, started kind of getting addicted to that. But I don't really have like an addicted personality. But
Definitely
it's just like, like already planning my day and being like, okay, I really want to get this yoga in. It's like the first time, like, kind of.
It started
being
becoming
like,
a priority for you in your day. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I got to make sure I get that going.
Because I've noticed how good it makes me feel.
Sure.
And how, like, I can communicate with my body.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just a good feeling.
Yeah.
I'm not good with words. And I'm not, like, as in explaining myself.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm just terrible at it. And you're really good at helping me through that. But I didn't have you.
True. Okay, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I found yoga instead. And that the breath work mixed with moving your body, which already feels good, has helped me communicate with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my way of communicating when I'm alone and have time to be alone. And so yeah, 2020 found yoga, and then 2022 we got married.
Oh wait, hold on. Big jump. Hold up. Let's not.
2022 we got married, and that was the same year that I planned our wedding and did teacher training.
Yeah, but we'll get there. Hold on. So, big jump. So, you started practicing yoga more. You moved back in, and we get it. We get our shit together. And when did you start working at Yoga 6 in Dublin?
No. 2020, I was doing the after-school program. So still, like, prime pandemic for the summer. Going into the school year, doing after school. I think it was. Then I did my first yoga class there, before working there.
Okay.
With a couple girls from Row House.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I forget about that.
I know. What a time. So I was working at Row House when I was house sitting.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was 2020. And that was like my first time in the fitness world.
It was Row House, yeah.
Because that was my, like,
That's true. That's important to mention, I guess.
I started weaseling my way into that direction.
Uh-huh.
And so.
You're just a sales associate, or whatever you call it.
Just
wellness advisor. Whatever they call it there.
I honestly don't remember.
Well, let's how about how long do you think?
I did Row House in the after school program. Row House in the morning. Remember at like 5 a.m. to 11.
I remember.
And I did the after school program. So 2 part-time jobs. And then I think it was following February.
So February 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. Because my first class at Yoga 6 was like February 13th or 14th or something like that. And then I found out that they were hiring. And so I talked with the front desk people. I was like, hey, I work at Row House. We use the same online system that you guys do. I'm already familiar. Boom, got in, made some good connections there. Then we decided we wanted to move to North Carolina.
Yeah, we had already decided at that point.
Yeah. And so like the manager or the owner of Yoga 6 in Dublin and I.
You guys hit it off pretty well.
Yeah. And so he got me connected with the Chapel Hill Yoga 6.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I weaseled my way in there.
Sure. And so when you worked at Yoga 6 in Dublin, were you taking more classes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was able to take class and really like experience like different instructors and like experience a real class. But like that was the only place I took class.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like go anywhere else, which I need to still.
Sure. Well, I remember taking a Sculpting Flow there, where there was dumbbells, and like I can do
95 degrees.
Well, I can do the heat and stuff. Like that's not too crazy. But I remember they were like, grab some dumbbells, and I was like, okay. And they were like lighter, and I was probably one of the few guys in there. Okay, well, everyone's kind of grabbing 5s or 8s. I was like, I'm gonna do the 20s, and I did, but I don't think I would have been able to do that workout by myself. It was the fact that I was in a group that I was able to complete all the reps and do everything they said, because I was like, I can't look like a bitch in front of everyone. But I was like, this was way too much weight. Still did it though. But yeah, that sculpt and flow was special. That was special.
That was the one where I had to keep coming out, I think. There was one sculpt and flow where I had to keep coming out because
it was getting too hot.
I'm gonna pass out. It's like every time that I went to go like this happens even when I do like my at-home stuff. It was probably because I was still not knowing how to feed myself.
Yeah, nutrition game was weak.
But every time we would do like a cardio blast, and then you move into like do a lunge and like a hammer curl or whatever, I would just get like those spots. And like I was like, oh my god, I'm about to pass out. And I didn't want to look like a wimp, so I just went out in the lobby and get like the cool air. But I'm like sitting there like this, like so close to either puking or passing out, either one. But I think I did that like 2 or 3 times. It was a struggle.
I think I remember you taking breaks during the sculpt and flow, but yeah, I mean that's a tough class if you don't. I mean, I had no clue what to expect, and so I was thinking like, oh, 20 pounds, like I can basically do any exercise with 20 pounds more or less for a while, but that combined with the heat, combined with the whatever we were doing, probably balance stuff. I was like, oh my god, and it involved the shoulders too. So, I mean, it was a risky move. So okay, regardless, so we February 21 to September 21, you're working the front desk at Dublin Yoga 6 in Bridge Park. We moved to Chapel Hill, and you more or less make that transition pretty much immediately.
Yeah, just one supervisor, front desk stuff.
Yep.
And again, made good connections there. Like really, I was like, at that point, I kind of knew, like, well, before that point, but
before Chapel Hill, you knew you wanted to be an instructor.
Yeah, but
go on?
But when we got there, I really was trying to like work hard to pave that path even more, like by making those connections, asking instructors about like, oh, well, why are you doing that? Like, what's the benefit of that? Or, just like instead of just being like, hey, have a good class, I'd be more involved and like
just trying to get to the bottom of why you are enjoying it so much.
Yeah.
And what the steps these people took to get to where they were going.
Kind of investigating for myself if it's really something I want to do by talking to other instructors.
Was there like an aha moment where you're like, because I remember when you brought it up to me, but was there a time before you brought it up to me? I mean, there had to have been because you made that decision for yourself before talking to me about it, but was there that aha moment where you're like, all right, I'm going to do this?
I wouldn't say like a specific time, like this one time. I just really enjoyed, even in Dublin, I enjoyed the environment so much. Like, I enjoyed this lobby. I enjoyed how, like, greeting people and, like, seeing people come in, just like, oh, I had such a long day. And then they come out of those doors from class, and they're just, like, a whole new person. They're glowing. They're, like, rejuvenated. And I wanted to be that person to help them feel that way.
Yeah.
Because I just enjoy seeing people happy, and I want to make people happy. Like, I'm a people pleaser, and I also know personally that moving your body makes you feel good, rather than sitting on the couch thinking about it. It's really hard to like get up and do it, but once you do it, it feels good.
Yeah, it was the best thing ever. Yeah.
So it was kind of just like over time. I started noticing, and then just taking people's comments to me, like, oh, you're so, like, you're so kind, you make a great yoga instructor. The people were just, like, being nice. But I'm like, oh, okay. I feel like I get that often. Like, I start believing it for myself that I'm soft spoken, and for being a yoga instructor, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's other yoga instructors that are way more upbeat, and that's their thing. Like, all my life growing up, everyone's like joking about how quiet I am.
Mm-hmm.
But now that's what I'm.
It's an asset.
Yeah, and I now feel like I'm good at it. Like, I found that where people used to make jokes about, well, now I turned it around and made it a positive thing for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm successful, I would like to say.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I think I'm being successful and would like to keep doing it. But it's just cool to have been so embarrassed and so shy about even speaking to people. And now I'm confident in myself. I'm confident in speaking to a group of strangers and telling them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on a microphone. Like, it's just so, people would think back, if people from my high school ever watch this, they're going to be like, this is a whole different person. Like, it's just.
When did you get your certificate, like pass your exam?
December 22.
So it was after we got married.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I had to submit all of my sequences.
Yeah, I remember that. I
guess that's when I got my certificate.
The timeline. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, the timeline is just muddied for me. Okay, cool. So I remember when because you'd probably been talking about it, like, yeah, I think I'd like to do this. I think you'd like to do this. And I don't remember how long it had been since we had been living in Chapel Hill. But I feel like it wasn't that long. I mean, we got there.
It was definitely 21.
Well, because you stopped being a wellness advisor there so that you could.
Oh, it was April of 22.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what it was.
Gotcha. So let's say October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So you were 6 months as a wellness advisor, and you add that to the February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. 7 plus what did I just say before? 6.
Yeah.
So it was just over a year you'd been a wellness advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe like a month or so before you stopped being a wellness advisor at the Chapel Hill Yoga 6 is when you came to me and you were like, hey.
Yeah, I remember we even sat down at the table.
Yeah, it was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't, in the sense that I was super down. But I know why you were doing it, just because it meant you taking a cut in income to then invest in the 200 hour, that's what it was, 200 hour yoga certification program. You're like, hey, this is something I want to do. And I was like, yes, like if there's something that you're willing to invest in your time, and you'd been talking about a lot, and I was like, yeah, this seems like a great idea.
Oh, I was so scared.
I remember, and I remember just being like, no, this is a great idea.
I was like, oh. Like, I just didn't expect you to, because it was a cut in my pay. Like, I wouldn't be working as much, or at all there.
Mm-hmm.
It was, like, I just took time off to do that.
Sure. I guess the way I looked at it was just like, well, if in the long game, it means that you can do something for the rest of your life, if you want, instruct yoga, and get paid to do it and enjoy it. I mean, because with any sort of physical practice, you can do it forever, and you can maybe be considered a master after a certain point, but you can always find fulfillment and learn new things about it. And so it's just like a lifelong pursuit. So when you brought that up, I was like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember you being like super relieved.
Yeah, because I feel like when I would quit jobs in the past, it would be very abrupt. I was just like, this isn't for me. I'm
Yeah,
not
you
gonna
like
show
couldn't
up the
hang.
next day.
I was like, what? You're not even giving 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Terrible.
um, yeah, I just like from my past doing that, I was like, oh, he's gonna think that I'm a quitter again, and I'm not gonna try. And
Well, but you weren't like quitting. It was
No.
like with the intent of returning to that place as
and
an
they all
instructor.
knew. Like I
Right.
made sure with my connections and just made sure to be like, hey, this is what I want to do, and I want to come back and teach. And they were like, yeah, we'll probably need you.
What? So was it last Saturday that we went to Sean's, or was it Saturday before? Was that last week or 2 weeks ago?
Last week.
Okay. That morning, Michael and I got coffee, and the reason I asked this ties it all together. The reason I had asked if it was before or after our wedding is because, and this is something that Michael and I were talking about this past Saturday. We were talking about how on our wedding day, I mean the night before, but you had kind of planned majority of the wedding. I mean, I did tasks here and there, but that was like 80, 85% you. And we weren't living in the same state as the wedding. We being Michael and I, noticed how you were like taking charge and were being confident in your decision making at the venue the night before and during the wedding. And for me, even being your husband, the day before and the day of our wedding, I'm like, whoa, like you were surprising me with your ability to take charge of the whole situation. Because I mean, there was 150 some people, plus, well, I mean, we didn't really have too many workers. There was a person at the venue. Everyone else was like family who was doing stuff.
Yeah, shout out to everyone.
Yeah, shout out to everyone who just bossed up on that day. But
Christy going out.
Yeah, for sure. Christy and Casey crushed that day. But regardless, you would impress me, and then come to find out, impress Michael, and him and I were just talking about it. Just with your, last week, just with your ability to make decisions as they came to you. And so, lucky me as your husband-to-be / husband that day, I was like, nice. Great decision by my part. Good thing that I made this decision and that we're here, because you were just demonstrating your growth, to your point of what you were saying, about your people back in high school or from your hometown. You're like, oh, I wish they could see me now. And, some of them got to on the wedding, but just your growth in being someone who is, even if maybe conversation long form, I mean, you're doing a podcast right now, but maybe if it isn't your strength, it's something you've gotten better at. It's like a weakness that you fortified, and now I wouldn't really say it's like so much of a weakness anymore.
No, I don't. Yeah, it's really, like, to be honest, I sound so cheesy, but I'd like to thank my mom and my dad because, like, if it wasn't for...
They both just started crying listening to this.
Yeah.
Go on.
If it wasn't for mom to, like, pretty much force me to do some, like, social things that I didn't want to do. She'll be like, just go, be there for, like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. Let it sink in. If you're really having a terrible time, I will come get you. Like, text me. And I never do. I never text or call because I end up...
You start having fun, yeah.
Yeah. And she'll text me and be like, how are you doing? I'm like, it's actually a good time. I'm having fun. And then, so yeah, mom was like super big on that. Michaela, my sister, she has no problem.
Social butterfly.
Yeah. It was just me. And then my dad is not a social butterfly, but like every family gathering or every social place we go to, he just like is sitting peacefully content, like maybe in the corner somewhere or by a dog, I don't know. And I just like grew up watching him do that, and like, oh, dad's okay with it. Like, dad is comfortable not talking to everyone all the time. Where mom, that's mom's thing. She likes to make sure she's touching base with everyone, catching up, and then she'll tell dad about it. But dad just always seemed so content with himself and his quietness, because he was the same as me. Like, quiet kid at school, people would make jokes. And so I caught on pretty early to that. Like, I was like, oh, dad's comfortable with it. It must be okay. And then, oh, mom is pushing me to my out of my comfort zone. And so with the two of those, I think I was able to figure it out.
Like, oh, I can be myself out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, and it's okay if I don't feel like being social. I'm just gonna like sit back and just listen. And I don't know where we were going with that.
Well, that was just, we were just talking about.
Oh, my confidence.
Yeah, your confidence.
And being like assertive and.
Sure. Well, I mean, just from when I started dating you in 2017. I mean, I guess technically we say December of 2016. Yeah. But that has been like your main journey, is you building your confidence, I would say. Well, it was. Maybe not so much anymore. That's your journey, but for a while that was.
Yeah. It comes and goes. And
sure.
Waves.
Yeah.
But there was a big old tidal wave.
What was?
A few of them when we first started dating.
What's the tidal wave?
Like, my confidence.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, it would just like vanish all of a sudden. Yeah. I'm like, what is happening? 'Cause
and then we like stay up and I'm like crying.
I didn't even have the capacity to like know what was going on. I'm like, what? Why aren't you just good? Why can't you just be better? When really I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to go smoke a bleezy right now, so this is really harsh on my vibe.
And now you're like, oh my god, she's holding me back again.
Yeah, I was like, oh, they're sparking this blunt right now, dog.
I'm like, I just say to love my body, and
I don't feel like it wasn't that too much. It was just like, I'm not confident right now. I'm like, what? It's the same idiots that you're always with out there. No one's paying attention. But no, but no, we figured it out. You figured it out, and I got better at managing that. But yeah, so you got your confidence, and you started instructing yoga. When did that start happening? At Yoga
January.
That's what I thought.
Of 23.
Because I remember your class. Yeah, January 23. Sorry, we just moved it. Was it really January 23?
Yeah, because we moved in
June.
Of
so there's only 6 months.
Year.
Wow, gee. My timeline. This is helping me with my timeline in general. Okay, cool. So I remember your first class.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
You and Chris
Katz, yeah.
And was it Jen there? Jen
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jen Jones,
that was so nice.
Yeah, that was a good squad. And yeah, I mean, your first class was good. And just circling back to that confidence thing, I remember your parents took your class. I mean, it was like your third or fourth or fifth, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And your dad afterwards, like the whole time, was just like, I can't believe that. Tay's in front of a group of 20 people, guiding us all through a class. And
yeah.
I know he was super proud of you that day.
Yeah, that made me pretty emotional.
Yeah, well, because from my perspective, I mean, I didn't know you when you were in high school. So, like for me, I've only ever seen you continually grow.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we did projects together and we did a project together and presented a project together. And so I guess for me, this was just your natural progression, and class size was something I didn't think about because I had been in group fitness for a bit before you'd started that. And so I just didn't really think anything of it too much.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's nice to have his perspective where it's just like, I can't believe that you're leading a group of 20. I'm like, whereas for me, I'm like, nice. this is a good class size. Yeah. And your class, I mean, and you know, for me, I was probably like a more harsher grader because with the group fitness in my head,
Yeah.
so I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
like this, that. I'm like thinking of tweaks.
Meanwhile, Dad's like crying in the back corner.
Like, she's come so far, and I mean, well deserved. Yeah. So 6 months, you come back, and so once you became an instructor, how do you feel like that changed? How do you feel like you changed, just personally and in general? Like, was there another increase in confidence, or because you were obviously practicing at home a lot more, like you had started?
Yeah,
like,
my teacher training, I would practice with Mom.
Yeah, I guess talk about that, like the actual process of getting the yoga
it was
like,
online.
Yeah, it was online because it was still like not. I mean, COVID wasn't like peak, but
I could no. The reason I chose online was because doing it in person was like a lot of money. Because it's just more expensive, and I was planning our wedding, and I just wanted to start teaching. Like, I just really wanted that, and so that would have been the quickest. Well,
Gotcha.
it wasn't the quickest way, but just my time.
Yeah, time and money.
Yeah,
being accounted for, that made the most sense.
So I guess that was a perk to doing the online course, was you can pick and choose when you do it. Because the course that I had was Yoga Renew, and it never expired. Like, you can finish it however long it takes you to do. So, but the con to that is you can get it done however long it takes you to do it.
So you could take way too long.
So you could take way too long, and it's not fresh in your mind, or you just forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I still have a kids yoga certification on there that I started, and now you haven't finished it yet.
Oh.
Yeah, because I would just get so excited about like all these certifications that are super cheap, and I want them.
Sure.
And I start them just like any book. I start a book, and I just never finish it because I'm like, well, I could be doing something else. Let me close the book, and I never think about it again. But I mean, it was super informative. I took lots of notes. I really like planned it. Like, I'm gonna go in the guest room, and I'm gonna get to work, like just like school. And so like there was times where I had to write my own sequence, many of them, and so I would practice those with Mom on FaceTime for my sequence. Words.
Like your cues?
Cues.
Sequence cues. Words.
Yeah. So work on cues. That was pretty hard. Because you had to like type them out. Short and sweet. So you have to make sure that you're just doing breath. It was inhale to here, exhale to there.
Right.
So
there's like transitions with the breathing.
Yeah. And I just had to like be really kind of precise about it. So when someone reads it, or you can like read it to someone and their eyes are closed, they know where their body's going. So, but that was great.
Sure.
I learned a lot.
I mean, I remember you practicing those with me.
Yeah.
And you would ask for cue feedback. Because that was something within my group fitness that I was known for being good at. It was like precise cues with demonstrations. And so.
So yeah, you were really helpful. Yeah, it was great. I still have all my sequences. I printed them off in a binder. Probably I should look at them again because I haven't seen them in a while. Be like, well,
yeah, there might be something good.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you could be like, oh, this is elementary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. So, when you're
Oh yeah, go. Didn't you ask like what? How has teaching helped?
yeah, I guess how has teaching changed you?
Yeah. So I guess with that, my confidence obviously has gone up a lot because I would get feedback from uh, the students, and they would just be like, "Yeah, I feel great." I'm like, "Hey, that's all that I want for you."
That's actually why I'm doing this.
That's literally all I want for you. And people are coming out glowing. They're coming out. I did like restore on a Sunday evening. Like it was a whole like Sunday scaries. Get those out of the way because tomorrow's Monday, and you want to just like go into it nice and peacefully. And I feel like I did that. There were some classes that I didn't feel too confident in, but sometimes those would be like everyone's favorite class.
Yeah, you're like, oh, really?
Like, what are you talking about? Like, I messed up on this, and this, and they're like, I couldn't even tell. Like, maybe keep those to yourself because.
Yeah, that was always my biggest feedback. Is like,
don't blurt out how you messed up.
Yeah, you're like, sorry, I messed up, or like, oh, I didn't mean to stumble over my words there. I was like, shut up.
I know.
That takes us all out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, obviously, I'm more critical because that's like what I do. So.
Yeah. But like that's gotten so much better.
Oh
like,
yeah.
When I make a little mess up, like at first it was the mirroring, making sure like if my left hand is down,
which is challenging.
I gotta say, plant your right hand. That's been like pretty fine. Sometimes you stumble over it, but you just go put your left hand down and like just skim over, just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But now like I'm getting a feel for my students. They're pretty consistent, and so I'll just like joke if that's the vibe. Like you gotta just get a read of the class of the day, and you just make some jokes. Like be human, be a person, and it's gonna make people kind of draw to you and be like, okay, she's real. Like it's not like robotic and perfect all the time because yoga's not.
Definitely not.
And yoga,
it's just a process.
Because it's life. Like yoga is not a thing. It's like a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
There's many
a lifestyle, yeah.
Many things underneath it. The movement part is just one of them.
Yeah, so
like when people say, "Oh yeah, I practice yoga," a lot of times it's just the poses, and that's all.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, it's great. I'm glad, but it's just everything else gets kind of. If you don't practice it often or like read about it or like, you just have to go into class, and that's fine. But there's just so much underneath and all over.
So the other aspects of yoga, because there's like 6 like different, they're like yoga, like the yogic lifestyle, right? There's like a bunch of different aspects to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? I can't remember all of them.
I'm gonna sound terrible, but I don't even. But asanas, which are the poses, is one of them. Pranayama is breathing. It's a breathing technique. There's multiple breathing techniques that you use throughout the asanas, or just to meditate. There's the yamas and niyamas, which is kind of like the rules of living the yogic lifestyle.
Okay.
So the yamas and niyamas are like, thou shalt not harm yourself or others.
Like actual rules.
Yes. Literal like actions to take on your path to enlightenment. So yeah, breathing, kind of like yogic handbook poses,
Do you know how many there are?
Book.
Yeah,
I don't want to look bad. Like I teach yoga, but like I just don't do enough reading about it.
sure.
And
Well,
I keep thinking I should.
well, you've got a lot
I
going
have
on
a
right now.
child now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, there goes everything.
Well, and I feel like you're also like still, even though what we've talked about so far has been a multi-year journey. I mean, being a yoga wellness advisor and starting in 2021, whenever April 21,
Mm-hmm.
to realizing wanting to teach, to then getting your teacher's certificate and planning a wedding at the same time, and then finally becoming a yoga instructor, and then doing that for 6 months, and then we moved back to Columbus, and there's the Yoga 6 in Powell that you helped open up as one of their instructors, but now you're pregnant during this time, and so like
just like to do everything big.
You're
do everything all at once.
Sciatica. I mean, that's just life. You just do stuff, but you're getting sciatica, and your body's changing and all of that. So like having to adapt your practice that way, just personally, and then.
When I feel like just who I am as a person is already on that path. I feel like I even before choosing to go the yoga route, I was already kind of there, just personality wise, or like who I was. Like I was kind to everyone. I feel like I was selfless. Like there's just certain things that I feel like helped guide me a little further.
Yeah,
already.
Certain personality advantages. Well, but I guess like like we talk about, it's a lifelong thing. So even though you're 2024, even though let's say you're 3 years in from becoming a wellness advisor now to still continuing to be an instructor, even though you're 3 years in, like if you're going to practice for the rest of your life and you're 27, God willing, you live another 60 years or so, you're still at the beginning of your practice, if that makes sense. And so, like, I feel like you have learned so much, but you also just still,
you're always learning.
You're always learning, exactly.
Yeah,
and so,
you're always a beginner in some ways, because you're going to meet someone. If I'm 50 years old, I'm going to meet someone and they're going to teach me something.
Yeah,
about yoga that I've never known.
Meet a 12-year-old who teaches you something.
Yeah, you're always learning, always a beginner at something, because you don't know it.
Oh yeah.
Like, and then, yeah.
Well, speaking of that, with me becoming a personal trainer, I remember I got my certification, and I had been an athlete for my whole life, and I was my biology being my best class, and that thing that I was most interested in, anatomy, all that stuff, I felt confident in. And I remember becoming a personal trainer and taking my test, and like, I passed, but it wasn't like amazing. And it really just opened my eyes to all that I don't know, and just feeling so inadequate and like having such imposter syndrome. And then I remember going and visiting Alex in LA, and we got a workout at like one of his gyms, and I was just doing dumbbell chest press, but the way I was doing it was incorrect. This was after I'd taken my exam, and it's just like such a basic exercise. And what I was doing is, when I was pressing the dumbbells up, I wasn't squeezing my pecs and bringing them in closer towards each other. I was just pressing them up, almost like I was just doing bench press, but with dumbbells, which is not really the same thing. And Alex was like, "Hey, you want to like bring those closer together so you can contract your chest better?" And I was just like, "What the fuck? Like, what is this piece of paper that I have even worth if I can't even do a dumbbell chest press correctly?" And that's not to say I didn't have all the skill set and knowledge that I had talked about previously, and that I didn't also, and that I wasn't also solid at exercising, and I had put on weight, which is challenging, and I had gotten stronger in various exercises, and I knew how to progressively overload. So, but also didn't know how to do some basic things, and so it's just sometimes you're just like, okay, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I'm still on the journey, and this is going to be a lifelong pursuit, and so
You have to have
some humble pie.
And like, what I'm trying to say. I guess that's what I was gonna say. But humility.
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just be open to.
Yeah. I mean, just be open to the experience of, just because you're a professional at something doesn't mean that you can't still learn. In fact, the best professionals are constantly learning and adapting and admitting when they're wrong. And I think that's important.
Yeah. That's the hardest part for probably like doctors and lawyers and those big time jobs where like you feel like
they're infallible.
I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm the best.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if someone kind of like tells them, hey, you want to think about maybe doing it this way,
or hey, the research is trending this way, or
they're gonna be like,
what?
Well, I've been doing this for 25 years.
Sure, right.
Like that's it's a hard.
Oh yeah, it is for sure, and sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong in those situations.
It kind of swings around to what my most recent kind of issue was with parenting.
Oh yeah, you can talk about that.
It's a real change of topic,
but no, I mean it relates though. Go for it.
Yeah, just being a parent now, and thinking like, hey, I know what's best for my kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here with June every single day, all day with her. I know her routine. I know what she likes and doesn't like. Sometimes I'm like, I really don't know what you want, but I'm gonna just fuck around and find out.
Yeah, we'll run through the things that we know could help.
Yeah, and so when like someone comes over, or like everyone has opinions and they're free to share them.
Sure.
Like, I'm not gonna stop them, but they could maybe have a different way of doing it, or I'll tell them, hey, this is, I think she might need a nap. And they're like, oh, we'll just play, and they just kind of like skip over.
Well, I think when that stuff happens, they're not like, it's not even they're offering advice. It's just they're there to see her, and so they're like, oh, she has to go down for a nap.
Yeah, right. And like, I feel bad because they came, but it was just, it's trying to keep this routine, and shoot, what was the swoop around? Why was I like the segue?
Well, I think what we had talked about previously was that, like you were saying, how you do spend the most time with June. So most of the time you are going to know what's best with her. And when people were making suggestions, and not, separate from, just wanting to see her, when they're like, oh, well, have you tried this? Or, oh, well, that when I had my kid, which like, this is what like Doug and I were talking about, Doug Ramos, when we were on the kayak trip. He was like, why are you even asking me for advice? Like, your kid is probably so different from mine. Like, personality-wise, like, the environment they've grown up in, like, who knows, like, what if they're similar enough. Most kids, or actually, in general, kids require structure and routine. So that's pretty consistent. But, like, when parents offer random advice, like, oh, well, when I was a parent, this worked really well for my kid. It's like, that is could be useful, but also it's like great, like
Yeah.
that could be helpful. It could not be. So it's just
Yeah.
like recognizing when people say those things, they're just trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
And everyone, I mean, we all come from parents, right? So like everyone who has kids has an opinion because they've done it before. And maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, maybe it's rooted in logic, or maybe it's just something that they blindly did. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
But just being able to like take it in and say like, no, that's dumb, or oh, I haven't tried that before, maybe I'll try that, or oh, I haven't tried that before, now's not the best time to try that, but I'm gonna save that for later and attempt it in a different sort of environment or whatever. But just kind of having the confidence that you do know what's best most of the time, but you don't know everything there is to know about parenting, and you're not always right. So it's like trying to toe that balance, which is hard.
Yeah.
Especially when it's happening. Like you might, like that, but when it's happening and someone's like, oh, should I do this? You're like, shut up.
Like,
trying to check the ego. Like yeah, trying to check the ego.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah. Oh, I'm losing my train of thought.
Well, it's the end of the day. I mean, we had a long weekend.
Yeah. I don't feel like cloudy in the head. Like sometimes I do after like an overload.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, after being pregnant and having all those hormones, and then having even more crazy hormones after having June,
and then breastfeeding,
my memory and like my train of thought is like the train in Willy Wonka. Or the boat ride in Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Of course.
No one knows where we're going.
That's what it's
That's the best scene in that movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know where we're going. And there's all these lights and crazy things happening all the time. And
yeah. That's
we make it out of the tunnel.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there. So let's just go back to yoga just for a little bit. I want to squeeze that for a little bit longer. Like we're milking it, we're gonna milk this yoga a little bit longer. When you what?
You said milk these.
Okay, freak. When you came back to teaching, and you're probably like getting into that second trimester, right? When you started teaching again? When did Powell open up?
October.
Yeah, so you're in the second trimester for sure. So how did you feel confidence-wise going into that? Because now there's this whole new thing where it's like, I'm pregnant and teaching.
Fine.
Yeah.
I mean, because
You were practicing. And you also were like, you had to do more training.
Yeah.
For that yoga 6.
A little bit, like just a weekend. But still, like it was nice to be brought back into it with other people. And even looking back at it, like that training was over Zoom, and we had to go through each, like Yoga 6, there's 6 class formats.
Sure.
So we had to go over each one, except for a couple of them, because there was the Sculpt and Flow that uses weights that we talked about. And there's a 101, like fundamentals, that we didn't go over. But we each had to teach like part of the sequence, and so we were just constantly moving and doing yoga. Everyone had to do it, and I was like, "Hey, is there like a variation for this because I'm pregnant and whatever?" And thinking back on it, I'm like, I could have done everything. I was just being a little wimp about jumping. Or like being a little wimp about working too hard.
Well, that dude, it was so hard for me to try and tell you. You're like, I don't know if I should be doing this. I'm like, babe,
I was being
just
such a baby.
Do it. Like, what are you talking about? Because it wasn't like those weren't things that you were not doing before. I'm like, like, hey, if you were doing it before pregnancy, you can do it during.
Yeah.
Like, you were
No,
doing
I was
Orange
being-
Theory.
I was being such a freaking baby.
But it was your first pregnancy, so
It
like,
was.
I totally understood, but at the same time, I was like, I always use the example. I'm like, hey, you've got these like pregnant CrossFit ladies, like
I know.
doing like
You're sending me-
doing box jumps with barbells, and they're like 2 weeks out from popping from
Yeah.
having their kid. I'm like, and I'm not saying that you had to go at that intensity. I just mean,
No.
if you're at that level, you can continue to be at that level up until, I mean, you have people who take Orange Theory up until their due date, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just being a little wimp about it. And, but yeah, like, that was nice to, like, get in touch with other instructors that I'll be working with. And then, yeah, we opened in October. But I felt confident. Like, it didn't really feel like I dropped off a cliff and had to climb my way back up.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I
Like stage
just kind
progression.
of cruised.
Nice.
And then was super pumped and still like nervous, you know, like you have the pre-class,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like poops.
Yeah. Oh
Feeling
yeah,
like-
I've been there.
Yeah. But it wasn't as bad as in Chapel Hill when I started teaching.
Sure.
Because I was like, oh, this is a brand new studio. The students don't know me. I don't know them. I'm not coming into a place that was already previously, their community was established. And I'm like, the newbie, the new person. It was like, we're all new here. We're all like going through it at the same time, together. It's my very first class. It was great. It was fun. It was, you know, the demographics were a little different than in Chapel Hill, because Chapel Hill was UNC,
Right.
like, so it was a lot of like,
College.
yeah. But yeah, I just feel like I'm in the right place, doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I haven't taken your class since Chapel Hill.
No. You came to
Oh wait, that's not true. Yeah, I took one in Pal. Yeah, that's very true.
we just won.
Well,
Yeah, no, because remember my car? And you had to take me to work and you just took class anyway.
yeah. What would? Yeah, but I used to take a class every Sunday. Like I got a membership. So
In Chapel Hill.
in Chapel Hill, so it just feels like I haven't taken it really that much. Well, now what's crazy is because obviously you took some time off
Mm-hmm.
when our kiddo was born, but now, I mean, you're not doing a crazy amount, but you're doing 2 a week, and also you're a wellness advisor, and you're doing like the stuff from home,
Mm-hmm.
so you're actually more immersed in Yoga 6 now than you ever have been.
Yeah, and it's great. I like it.
Yeah, so
I'm really enjoying myself.
it's been fun to see you have ideas about the business now, you know. So
I know.
like that's cool. It's just another progression. It's not necessarily like yoga driven, but just
Well,
sure. It is. I'm not saying it's not yoga driven, but this is like business performance, and I guess how to better run the studio,
yeah,
separate from the yoga itself,
yeah.
which is cool. I mean, that's great.
I would like to have
Keep it
my
up.
own little studio,
Mhm.
just like a small thing.
Yeah.
It's just me. You know,
Would you ever want to do a yoga retreat? And
Yeah.
if so, where? Like somewhere, anywhere in the world.
Definitely not in the U.S.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I would love for you to do that. I think that'd be so cool.
yeah. I mean, I would do it here. Just invite like all of our friends. Like, hey, let's go to Colorado, or let's go to Sedona. I've never been there.
Oh,
Like somewhere-
Sedona's a sick ass place for a yoga
Like-
retreat.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely do that. I want to do that. I want
to go back to Sedona. Because I mean, I didn't go with you, but
Mhm.
I'd like to take you there. It is an
Yeah.
awesome place.
Yeah, doing a retreat having my own little studio to do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just have all these ideas, and I just really want to like live by my rules somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I love Yoga 6. That's why I wouldn't be with them if I didn't.
Sure.
But it's still playing by someone else's rules.
Yeah.
But like I'm helping them.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
It's also like it's definitely more focused on delivering like the pose side of the yogic practice.
Yeah.
Like still very on the physical side. Not to say you can't have a spiritual experience in a Yoga 6 class, because I mean I've taken your class and been able to have like a spiritual experience or a meditative practice, even though they do focus on the physical side. It's just, just depending on who you end up learning from in the future and where you end up learning from in the future is going to influence the Tay rules and I guess what satisfies your yoga hunger.
Yeah.
And who knows what that'll be.
Yeah. The ultimate compliment I've gotten after my classes, I think I fell asleep in Shavasana.
Nice. Yep. Yeah. Made you forget all your troubles, and you were able to fall asleep in a room of strangers. Yeah.
Yeah. So you felt safe, you felt at peace,
and
you felt relaxed.
All good things.
See you later.
Yeah. Yeah. Enjoy your evening. Yeah, that's good.
I love that.
Yeah, I knew, because I had taken a couple yoga classes at OU with your sister and Nora. I maybe went like 5 times and enjoyed it. And I remember there was a couple times holding Warrior where I was like, oh my God, is this going to end? And so I learned very quickly. I'm like, oh, I can see how this could be next level challenging. And and then I didn't really do it. And then Sean gave me that book, Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza, in summer of 2019, because he was telling me about it. And then for me, because that like meditation being a part of the yogic practice, that was something I like took a deep dive into. And people, if they were to like walk in on what I was doing, just laying in my closet for an hour a day, just listening to God knows what. But I mean, for almost a year, I would say anywhere from 4 to 7 days a week, I was spending an hour by myself, just in complete darkness, meditating. And that was super, super formative. And I still meditate from time to time, but not nearly as much as I would like to. But what I have gotten better about doing is just controlled breathing. Sometimes I'll do it while I'm coaching. Sometimes I'll do it while I'm driving. Sometimes I just do it with June, which I know you've seen me do.
Yeah.
I
love that.
Yeah, I mean, because when you do that, it slows your heart rate and like kind of relaxes your vibe. And one of the cool things about the Becoming Supernatural book was it just demonstrated how you can measure your body's own electromagnetic field in a super scientific way that is extremely measurable. And to me, it put the science in the yogic practice and really allowed me to take the leap of faith, I guess, to like, okay, this is something I should invest my time in because it's measurable and it is an experience. And it also helped me develop a more in-depth relationship with my body, which as a personal trainer and group fitness instructor, I very much value. But yeah, so when I do the controlled breathing with our daughter, even if she doesn't immediately just calm down, like that's okay.
She still feels it.
Right, it's better than me also being stressed out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the same time.
Right. Yeah.
And so if it calms my presence, even if she is in distress, it's less distress than she would be if I was also like agitated and if I had an irregular heartbeat and that sort of thing.
So there's been like multiple times where I have her and it's not, whatever I was doing wasn't helping because my frustration was rising.
Yeah, you're at your wit's end.
And I hand her off to you, and she's like,
We start to level out.
I was like, oh great, it was all my fault. I was the one making her cry, whatever. And it was like in the middle of the night, like
sure, sleep deprived and breastfeeding, and your
sore
nipples and your motherly hormones. Like the bond you feel is more intense. So like when she's in distress,
you're responsible for it.
Sure, yeah. I'm definitely not making an excuse, but yeah, you just had a lot going on, but
yeah, after that, and things started to kind of settle with her and her routine.
Now she's a chiller baby.
I love the last feeding of the day before bed because it's quiet, and especially last night after just being around family and just super overstimulated environment, I slow my breathing down to let June know we're chilling out. She kind of starts to fidget at first, but then she'll settle too. Sometimes she'll just fall asleep.
Yeah, that's great.
Wiggle her.
Hey, suck on this, kiddo.
Yeah, we're not done.
We're not done. You gotta finish this food.
You have to keep drinking.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely been helpful because I got that from you. Of breathing.
Yeah, well, it was just nice to have that experience to draw on of just a year straight, pretty much, and then some. I was really good about it for a year, and then I would still meditate. And there's different meditations in that book, because your heart has neurons as well, and so you can sync up your breath with your heartbeat, and then slow. You can slow your heart rate with any sort of controlled breathing, pretty much, like box breathing or whatever. But yeah, there's just different meditations to try, setting different intentions, trying to clear your mind, just letting your mind run wild. Sometimes I would do it seated sometimes, and that was my least favorite because sitting up straight and lotus, especially because I was less mobile than I am now, my hips would get tired and you kind of shake a little bit from core engagement, but I would set it for
the purpose of asanas, yoga postures. Is to prepare the body to sit for a long time in meditation.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. That's fucking sick. But yeah, you set the timer for an hour, and most of the time you're I really want to check the timer. What if it's not working? What if I forgot to, what if I forgot to hit the timer? But it's don't do it. And so it's less of a clear your mind thing and more of a get through it sort of thing. And yeah, there's just so many ways you can meditate, and sometimes you have a transcendent experience and you let go, and then sometimes you're just your mind is still racing the entire time, but it's just the practice. Most of the time you have an okay or good workout, sometimes you have an amazing workout, sometimes you have the best workout ever, very rarely, and then maybe 20% of the time you just don't, or more than 20%, because you can not want to do it and have any of those outcomes that I just mentioned, but you could not want to work out 60% of the time, even as someone who loves to work out. Some days I'm just the night before you're stoked about it, you're oh, it's gonna be so good, and then you go about your day and whatever your day is, and you're oh, now I have to exert myself, or even if it's you wake up first thing in the morning, you're F, it's 5:30. In the wintertime? Oh, yeah. Well, I remember a couple times, when I when I had the cold plunge outside, and it was 20 degrees out, and the cold plunge was 34. And so I remember just being standing outside at 5:30 or 6 in the morning, and there's powdered snow on the ground, and I'm in my flip-flops. And I'm just looking at this water, and I'm just God damn it. I don't want to do this at all. Zero. And you just have to, but then you get to a point where all right, what? I'm in my boxers and it's 20 degrees out, so we can't just stand out here. And then you get in and it's just freezing. you know, I set my timer for 3 minutes. And I'm like going, and you get out, and like then you're shivering after, and you know it's all that. But then, dude, first of all, cold plunge if you're not, but or cold shower. Cold shower is good, but first of all, you've accomplished something that you didn't want to do, and that like you really didn't want to do, and that feels good. And even if it actually, let me rephrase, it might not even feel good, but when you have the other hard decisions of the day, where you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, you're like, but I'm gonna. Like you might not even feel good about it. Like you might still not want to do the thing, but you've already done the hardest thing, which is get in that 34-degree tub when it's 20 degrees out, and it doesn't make anything. It doesn't make the task easier. It makes the decision to do the task easier. That on top of the fact that you also like increase your dopamine by like 200 or 300%. And so you're just like riding this natural body high for like 5 hours. We're just like, let's go. And so there's something to be said for even just when you exercise and like you wake up, you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. Don't want to do this. The act of deciding to do the thing that you don't want to do makes the rest of the day better. One, because you know you can do hard things and that is gratifying, but also when the other hard things come that day, you're like, cool, I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
Accomplish something.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
That's why I miss Orange Theory.
Yeah.
I wish I could just keep taking classes, but it's just like, so expensive. But you just like go and you like hate standing there waiting for class, and then you start walking or running on the treadmill or rowing or whatever, and you're like, I'm in it.
Yeah, that's the great thing about group fitness is just show up.
Yeah.
Just show up, because then the class just happens to you.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about anything.
No. Where like if I go to the gym, that's why I don't like just going to the gym. Because I have the freedom to leave. I have.
Well, you can do that in group fitness too.
Yes, but you have a room full of people that are probably going to be like, what are they doing? They paid for a 60-minute class.
There's social pressure for sure.
But yeah, like at the gym, I could do like a few things. I'm like,
that was a workout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I love the gym, so. But I get what you're saying. I totally do.
Yeah. I like group fitness.
Yeah. But it was also nice, like, when we had the, when we were in Chapel Hill and we had the Gold's Gym, that was like 7 minutes away. That was so close.
We're in such a good spot.
Dude, that spot was legit. Everything was close.
Like, there was a beautiful bike path.
Yeah, the bike path, awesome.
To our workplace.
I mean, Meadowmont was super close.
My other job was like
the Botanical Gardens, Gold's Gym, Silver Spot, Cinema was super close. I mean, then you also just have UNC equally as close.
Yeah.
There was the Finley golf course, but also where they had like the track, and I would do the cross country run. Like everything was at my beck and call. Yeah, it was literally like a cross country course. Yeah, no, I mean that whole area was amazing. But my point being, I mean, I know it's pretty dope, but the Gold's Gym was super nice because if I had to be at work at 7:30 or 8, like I could go there at 6:30 or like 6:30 and like only deadlift, and because I knew I was going to have a long work day, in the sense that like, well, never mind, but, and like get my workout in like 40 minutes and just do heavy deadlifts the whole time and then go to work, and I'm like, nice. I've got that out of the way. It was shorter, but I lifted like heavy, and so I made the most out of my time, and now I can go to work and do all the things I'm supposed to. And then when it's like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. and I'm mentally and physically tired from coaching and doing admin and stuff, I'm like, oh no, I already was like clanging and banging this morning, so we're good to go. Yeah, that whole goes. Or I had Tyler, if I did work out in the evening, dude, having a gym bro is just next level. I don't want to be here. And even if you don't want to be there, there's still like, because then you'll complain to each other and you're both like, wow, we sound like some fucking bitches right now. Like, can't even believe how lame we sound. Like, better get some extra reps in there for sounding like such a freaking loser. Nah, we would never say that. But like, you would be next to the person and be like, all of a sudden Tyler would be like, one more. I'm like, what? Like, you really wouldn't expect it for whatever reason, even though like that would happen almost every time. Like, oh, one more. It's like, okay. I was like, oh, dude, you can do another one. And then so you end up doing 3 or 4 more reps per set, and that adds up, and that's like great progressive overload. Then you push yourself because you're like, ooh, it burns, but I can't let my dog down. You know,
dogs gotta bark.
Yeah, dogs can't let the dogs down. And then you had we had a couple other friends whose names I don't even remember. It didn't matter. We would lift with them from time to time. Sometimes the whole workout, and sometimes just like, oh, hey, you guys on that? Can we join you? And then we would just like talk and chill. And
Gym bros.
Just gym bros. Didn't know each other's names, didn't need to. But we would just be like, oh, yeah, come on, man. Oh, squeeze at the top, nice. And so just bring it back. And like, totally just having a great time, don't even know each other's names. I mean, Tyler definitely knew their names. If there's anyone who's a people person more than I am, it's him.
Get him on.
Oh, for sure. That'd be sick. I mean, him and Ashley would both be great guests.
Yeah.
As individuals or together.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Well, yeah, big facts. Wonderful people. Well, is there anything else you wanted to get off your chest there, Lovey?
I got this.
Oh, okay.
Father's Day gift.
Yeah, so I'll definitely put this clip on Instagram, but for those of you listening, Tay got me this sweatshirt that has a stitch. Is that what this is?
Yeah.
A stitch that was a photo of me and our daughter June, of me lying on the ground lifting her up. And when I opened it, I was like, wow, that looks, because it's just a traced stitch. It's just black stitching. But I looked at it, I'm like, oh, that kind of looks like the picture that June and I took. And then I was looking at it, I'm like,
it's crop top, so it's like.
Yeah, I've got my crop tank top on, and then my little watch on, and I'm like, this actually looks, and even like June's head shape is pretty spot on. I'm like, wait, is that us? And you're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, this is sick. So it's just a gray sweatshirt, and on my left pec, it has a stitch of me holding my daughter, and it's just an excellent Father's Day gift. But today's Father's Day. That's when this is being filmed, and it'll come out today as well. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, and thank you, Tay, for being my guest and for being a lovely wife and for being a excellent mother to our beautiful child. And today was a great day. Love you very much.
I love you too. Thanks for having me.
Bye, y'all. Peace.